Hey, beautiful souls. We are back for another episode here on The Wake Up. The Wake Up is an extension of Angelic Love and Light. Check out the website on the bottom of your screen, but I want to dive right into another energy update. So every single day, there's so much energy. There's many transits happening. I tend to talk about the larger transits. And today we're talking about Mars, okay? Because Mars actually of yesterday, yesterday it was not in this sign. It transitioned into Cancer, and we're gonna get into that information, what it means, what are we gonna do with this, how are we gonna see this and feel this. But yesterday there was an opposition, and just like in the streets, when there's an opposition, it's challenging, right? But we can still learn from any opposition. So yesterday was a very intense opposition that played out in duality with some of you in your communication. And yesterday was not a good day for communicating and kind of like using discernment of what to say and who to say it to, because based on who's in what frequency, your communication could have went right down the drain into the garbage disposal. And today it went into Cancer, which a lot of people would say that's even more of like an opposition energy. It's not an opposition exactly, but it's not the best, most favorable placement for Mars to be in. But we're never going to have the planets all in only the favorable signs. So what do we do with that? We lean into it. We lean into the strengths that we can get from it, and also be aware of the negative duality. And so that we have that duality, because everything in the world and energy and astrology is duality. And so Mars, let's start off with what Mars represents. Mars is Aries ruling planet. So it's a fire element, intense. And with intensity, fire actually symbolizes transformation, but fire can also represent like bad, toxic, poor communication. But what it actually stands for as a planet is war and action. It's funny because in these last few years, I have kind of put a spin on the positive side of war and using the war that's within us, and using that to turn our pain into power, and not so much the physical war between you and other people and what we see playing out in our world every single day. And then taking action or the lack of action. Aries do two things. They usually take action too quickly, sometimes too impulsively, and other times it's because they know what they're supposed to do, they know what they want to do, and they do it and it works out. But that's not always the case. Mars as a fire element planet is kind of impulsive, I'm not going to lie. And so Cancer is water. Water and fire do not usually mix. Those aren't elements that mix. One puts out the other. But in astrology, it works together. It will either be easier working together or not so easy. Okay? So it's a time to really, being that it went into the sign of Cancer. Cancer is the mother of the zodiac. Cancer is the emotional, sensitive. It has a bad rep. You know, everyone hears Cancers and they think like emotional crybabies, and it doesn't really stand for that. The crab is the only animal that can be on land and go to the bottom of the ocean. We have depths into our emotions. We are very sensitive because we not only pick up our own emotions, but the emotions of other people, and we are highly intuitive, which is why it's important for Cancers to gain balance. If not, that broad spectrum of different Cancers. I know many Cancers that aren't like myself. So this transit is really interesting, and it's calling us to go within. You know, before taking action or being at war, you need to see where you're at war with yourself and where you're not trusting your instincts in. There's certain areas of life. Cancer represents the fourth house, which is the area of life, of home and family. Okay, so it's really asking you to dive in within your instincts in regards to your home, and not only your physical home, guys. Think of yourself as a home. You know, many people look externally for a material home of where they live or a home in another person as an extension of themselves. But if we don't have our home right within us, you're not going to feel like you belong anywhere or belong to around anybody or with somebody else because your home's not right. Family, because family is also incorporated in the Cancer energy, and then your personal security, because personal security goes hand in hand with home and stability. Stability is huge for Cancers. It's their shell on that back of that crab is their home. That's their stability. Without that shell, they are the most vulnerable. And once a year or a few times a year, they go through a huge molting phase. Okay, so this is kind of your way for them wherever Mars is in your natal chart and how Mars is impacting the collective world, asking everybody to kind of tune into those instincts around your home, your family, your personal security. What is not feeling stable to you right now? What is not safe to you? Who are the family and the people that get you the most and are at your level right now and of your frequency, that are not hard to communicate with, that are not feeling like they're challenging every single thing you say or do? So there's also this common theme of like hopelessness and sorrow that happened with yesterday, because the opposition was tension with Neptune, and it's currently retrograde in the sign of Pisces. And so Pisces negative duality is kind of this like drowning in their own sorrows or the suffering of other people. And it will pass, even though it didn't feel like it, or it may not feel like it to you in regards to certain areas of your life. So that was a little bit of yesterday specific, and what that created and what it looked like was a lot of frustrations. I personally know of many frustrations people had. And although I think sometimes this works in my favor because I'm aware of it, so it kind of eliminates certain things for me, but I'm human too, so it's not perfect. I didn't have any frustrations yesterday. Rather, I'm going to take that back. I think I had frustrations for other people in regard to their frustrations, and how it was impacting them. And what we could have done and what you can do for the future is, what was meant to happen is turn those frustrations into creative spiritual pursuits. And that's what I'm seeing a lot of today, including myself. Creativity through different pieces of work people are doing, writings. I'm doing a piece of my creative work right now, speaking to all of you. And diving into the things that make you happy, that light you up, that connect your passions, and also make you feel like this is who I am, this is a part of me, and I don't care who gets it or likes it, but just working on that piece of you. Whether that's artistic expression, meditation, activities that all connect with your inner world, because Mars is actually on the bottom of the natal chart right now collectively, which represents our inner world, and why I'm stressing the point that we're supposed to dive within. There's not supposed to be action on the exterior level right now. There needs to be action deep, 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 deep within yourselves, okay? It's asking you to let go of rigid expectations and to flow more in your imagination. Some people have a hard time using their imagination as adults, and that's something that should never have died in you, but certain life circumstances have made imagination more rigid for you. And there's others that have beliefs that imagination is just too out there, but that's not true. Imagination, if something comes to your mind, it is possible to be done. And so a lot of people don't believe in their own imagination, or suffer and struggle with even being able to be physically creative and imaginative. But so letting go of those rigid expectations of yourself. On the positive side, yesterday's energy that's still kind of lingering today, it encourages you to explore new ideas. A lot of people get set in their ways of, this is what I do. This is what I do when this is like this. But every once in a while, you've got to change it up. You've got to try something new. Talk to somebody new. You may hear something that hits and does a light bulb moment for you differently versus the people you normally go to talk about your problems or to vent or to feel comfortable with. Trying a different routine to switch things up, especially after the new moon in Virgo. If you caught that episode, if you didn't, check that out next. You'll see how that connects, because the lunar energy kind of flows and tries to help guide you in the 30-day cycle. Not everybody uses it and pulls it all together, and that's why I'm explaining it to you. Also, exploring new inspiration and creative potential that you have in writing, especially during Virgo season. Virgos are very, although they may not feel like they're the best communicators, they're really good at listening. They're really good at writing. And some of them have not even explored that. Writing, I'm not saying everybody has to go be an author. Writing certain posts, writing from like a pen name, so it's your experience, but with different names attached to it. You really will be supported by the universe's energy by getting some of this out and channeling it in a way that is working with the current energies and seasons that we're in. So because we are emotional beings, along with spiritual beings having a human experience, most of our decisions are based from emotions. And if your emotions are too rigid or at war with yourself, you're making emotional decisions that are impacting not only you, but other people all around you. Have you ever think of a situation where there was an environment where everything was cool, copacetic, and calm? And then all of a sudden that one person comes and it like disrupts the energy and makes things off. And it's a ripple effect. And then certain people go home not feeling right, or like the one person lacks communication or overspeaks. There's all different situations that are coming to my mind, but you all can think of that kind of, even a workplace. Think about when your workplace really got along, even when you guys all didn't get along. The days went smoothly. Then the place hires somebody and that person doesn't really fit into alignment, and it throws everything off, and maybe there's more communication errors. Maybe there's somebody who's a good communicator, but the others aren't, and their ability to communicate is triggering other people and making there a lack of communication around them. Maybe there's more fighting or hostility or issues. No matter what it is, we can learn from all the situations, but your emotions are a guide to our decisions. And this transit, Mars in Cancer, transitioning into Cancer today, is trying to help you to make better decisions, which means getting your emotional body right, which means looking at your emotional body and handling your emotional body with actual root work. Modalities are great to help transmute some of the energy, but they don't actually do the work for you. You've got to sit with your feelings, connecting dots, asking yourself hard questions, and being able to analyze yourself from playing devil's advocate with yourself. I don't know about you, but I say this all the time. I would rather check myself than have somebody check me. And it's easier for me to be accountable on my own emotions and thoughts and feelings if I sit with them and I reflect on them, but not get engulfed in them, but also not avoid them and dismiss them and just go run to the next shiny object or the shiny person to distract you from those feelings. And connecting deeply to the people who matter the most right now is huge because of Mars being in Cancer. There's a lot of people that aren't in alignment or are in very different places of life. And there's universe is bringing some people that you wouldn't think that they're aligned with you, but they are deeper in different ways. You just have to be vulnerable enough to let them in. And whether that's a conversation in passing one time only, where you wouldn't have normally talked to a stranger, or somebody who reaches out and you're like, why is this person reaching out? But they actually have something beneficial to say, or maybe it's their energy, or maybe it's the synergy between you two that helps each other in a different way that you're not used to. And then also leaning into the people, the very niche, like get as deep as a Cancer would. A Cancer doesn't want a whole bunch of other crabs around it. A Cancer will want a few crabs that it really trusts, that really resonates with it. A crab knows a lot of crabs, but a crab doesn't keep a lot of crabs near it. It wants the few people that know it the best, that have gone through the journey with them, that really resonate with who and what they stand for in that present moment. So dial into your crabs as niche as possible. This time is not meant to be very groupy, large groups, lots of people. That's distractions. You're not benefiting from Mars in Cancer if that's what your day consists of. And if you're making no time for connecting with and dialing into certain individuals more so than the others. All right, so let's dive deeper into Mars transiting into Cancer specifically today. It will be in Cancer for a whole month. Mars is an outer planet, meaning it transitions a lot faster and more frequently, okay, in the solar system is what I'm referring to as outer, the outer solar system. First, the inner planets kind of move slower, take their time. And Mars is one of the planets, along with Venus, and there's one other, that are closer to Earth. So we feel the energy, we see the energy acting out in people's emotional bodies and choices every single day. Okay, so Cancers are ruled by the moon, which is our emotional body. So a lot of our emotions are going to be either very fiery from the Mars energy, or very loving and nurturing from the Cancer energy. But I want to give you the gray area, which is a lot of people, which can be what feels like Aries unbalanced and Cancer unbalanced merged. Because Aries is Mars ruling sign, and Cancer is where Mars is in. So you're battling the duality of two signs that are highly not compatible. And then if you have them unbalanced, why I'm saying that is because there's this gray area of a lot of people that don't have balance every single day, that aren't doing the healing work for years and years and years and choosing daily to work on themselves to be their best selves. And so there could be a lot of highs and lows or fiery moments, but I'm going to try to eliminate those. It's not that you're avoiding the challenges or situations right now. It's that universe is specifically guiding you with this transit to navigate smartly what conversations you actually want to have. What do you actually want to comment on social media? Because the repercussions of what can happen from your choices and your words right now, mixed with other people's unbalances, is you could start a full-out war, what feels like a war, on a comment, in person, in conversation, through miscommunications, depending on who you are. So universe is actually asking you through Mars to pick wisely. There's a difference between avoiding energy and actually navigating energy in a smart way, all right? And Mars in Cancer is very edgy. That's what I just described to you guys. But ultimately, being vulnerable, as hard as it is for a lot of people, is the best thing. Here's why. When you're vulnerable and you speak your truth, or you say something, or you're the bigger person, you may not always get what you feel you would get back. Whether that's somebody is polite back to you, you may get rudeness back, you may get a snarky comment, you may get nothing back. That hurts the person of self. That would upset anybody a little bit. But ultimately, when you are vulnerable, you gave it your all. And you can say you did your best. So before being the bigger person, I actually promote being vulnerable, because you know you did your best and did your all. That has limits. There may be tense and agitated moments throughout the next month that have more to do more to do with Mars in Cancer. And ultimately, because the Cancer is such an individualized sign and really spends a lot of their time within their internal self anyways, and why they need a lot of space away from other people's energies that they can absorb easier than other signs, is that it's asking you, Mars in Cancer is asking you to face your own weaknesses. So identify those. Identify what they are in the present moment and what they've been throughout your whole entire life. And also facing your own vulnerability, because there's some people who are absolutely a-okay with being vulnerable, and there's other people that don't want any part of it, would rather have that tough shell act like it's talking and speaking versus like being vulnerable and like speaking with emotion and tending to their emotions. It's your inner unconsciousness and emotions, the fears, the old childhood wounds that are being repressed, that you're specifically being asked to look at. And not only are you being asked to look at, there's situations happening in your life that are pointing out like, hey, this isn't a repressed thought. This is a repressed action. This is a repressed wound that has been absorbed in you for too long. What are you going to do about it? Okay, because it already makes you feel some type of way, then it makes you speak some type of way, it makes you adapt a storyline some type of way, and then it has you make decisions and actions based on that. And that's scary, because there's a lot of people right now that are very impulsive, very there's a spectrum of emotions of people, but people that are not making smart decisions or choices on macro and micro levels. So be wise, people, be wise. I want to connect kind of your chakras to this. Your solar plexus is very, what is the word I want to use? Well, the solar plexus is what is kind of being triggered right now, because this has to do with the astral field. Your dreams may be very intense, specifically in regard to action, lots of action-oriented dreams or clues on how you're supposed to take action and move forward in life. Also, there's strong sexual themes coming up in dreams and everyday thoughts. And I know I can hear some people right now saying, well, that's me every day. Well, it may be enhanced right now because of the Mars energy. So, and then Cancer. And then on a positive side of today's transition into Mars into Cancer, there's depth within getting closer to people and learning the depth of other people and understanding how their brain works. Some people get so rigid in the way they are that they forget there's a lot of people in this world that are not identical to them, and there's beauty in that too, because we can learn from each other and we can experience one another, even if it's uncomfortable or bad, because we can at least see how they are, feel compassion for them, and say, that's not how I choose to be, that's not how I want to be, and make you grateful for how you are. But getting to know different depths right now of yourself, and trying to move forward knowing I would like to try to connect with other people in deeper ways, deeper levels, and feeling that out, navigating who to do it with. It's not with just anybody, but that is pretty much the energy of Mars transitioning into Cancer. And it will be there for a whole month. In addition to many other retrogrades that are actively happening, we'll be soon transitioning from Virgo season to Libra season. We have the eclipses coming up. We have the next full moon that we are leading up to. So there's lots more, and I will be here to bring you more videos and information on the energy updates. Let me know if you learned anything from this video or you have any questions in the comments. I'd love to answer them. For now, lots of love and light.